2,500 apps in the mental health category. The top 5 have remained unchanged for years, but if you dig into the data, you'll see that those players aren't even comparing with each other. Calm, Headspace, Finch, each occupies its own segment of the market and barely overlaps with the others. After watching this video, you'll understand exactly how they are divided up the category, where there are still open gaps, and how to use the same strategy for your app, not guesswork, just data. Hi everyone, I am Anna, an ASO specialist. Let's go over 3 things: keyword ownership, visual strategy, and localization gaps. Let's get started. Here's what the category actually looks like right now. The top players have barely budget for months. From the outside, it seems like the market is saturated, but in reality, each of those players holds its own distinct share, and there are the gaps between them. Take a look at this screen in the ASOMobile App Analytics dashboard. Here you can immediately see each player's search visibility score, how they structure their titles and subtitles, which screenshots they use, and what their icons look like next to them. Even at this level, it's clear that their strategies are completely different. Let's break down why. Block 1. Keyword ownership. Who has claimed which niche? So, the first thing to understand is that top apps don't compete with the exact same keywords. They divide the market based on semantics, and this becomes very clear when you look at the data. For example, Calm has 119 keywords in the top 1. For comparison, Headspace has 73, almost half as many. Look at the distribution chart. Calm has a much larger green zone, meaning keywords that actually drive organic installs without paid traffic. Now let's look at the downloads by keywords table. This is where the downloads actually comes from. Sleep and its variation account for about 20% of Calm's total organic traffic. Sleep sounds, sleep meditation, sleep stories, that's their territory. They entered this cluster a long time ago and built the entire product around it. Sleep stories, collaboration with famous people for voiceovers, and separate section in the app. The keyword strategy and product strategy are aligned. Now Finch. This is enough for emotional support and habit tracking, not meditation, but another angle of the mental health category. And that's exactly why it completely ignores the word meditation. Look, Finch has no ranking at all for meditation, but for ADHD organizer, self-care pad, and emotional support app, Finch is firmly established, while Calm is either absent or somewhere around the 40th, 15th positions. Why did this work? Look at the complexity, it's significantly lower than for meditation. And look at who's in the top for this query, there are simply no major players. Finch entered a space where competition is minimal and climbed its market share without fight. By the way, all this app data is from ASOMobile, and top apps is free, so feel free to use it for popularity and difficulty checks. And if you want to use all its features, here is my promo code MINDASO in the description. Please don't try to compete with Calm for meditation or sleep. You'll lose out of domain authority and the number of reviews. Do what Finch did, look for where the leaders isn't present and take that spot. Block 2. Visual strategy. How icons and screenshots drive conversions. Keyword ownership is half the battle. The other half is what the user sees when they find you in search results. And here, every players have their own clear approach. Calm, dark tones, nature, minimalism. The message is clear even before you read the title. Sleep, silence, relaxation. The first screenshot immediately highlights sleep stories, the app's main selling point. Headspace takes a completely different approach. Vibrant characters, soft colors, and an almost cartoonish aesthetic. This is no accident. Their audience consists of beginners who have never meditated, and they are little afraid of it's not for them. The characters lower the barrier, it looks like a game, not a serious practice. Finch is a bright green bird against a contrasting background. It deliberately stands out from all the category noise. Next to the dark Calm and pastel Headspace, this icon is impossible to miss, and that's a strategy too. Now let's see how Finch works with visuals over time. Open the update timeline. Here is a chronology of all changes over the past 6 months. Let's count the icon changes, 33 times. This isn't rebranding or chaos, it's systematic A/B testing of CVR. They are constantly testing which icon converts better specifically for their audience of newcomers. And every change is based on data, not gut feeling. If you don't test the icon, you're leaving conversions on the table. The icon is the first thing a user sees in search results. Sticking with the same icon without data isn't a strategy, it's just ignorance. Block 3. Localization gaps, where the market is occupied. Keyword ownership and visuals are about working within a single market, but here is another dimension where the gaps are much larger. Localization. Open GeoChecker and place the two apps side by side. Look at the title and subtitle. In the US, the focus is on sleep stories and celebrity voices. In Japan, inner peace, mental clarity, minimalist visuals, a completely different message. Calm is localized in 25 plus markets and adapts not only the language but also the positioning for each culture. And it pays of 40% of all downloads come from outside the US. That's a direct result of this. Now let's look at keywords presence worldwide. This is where the real picture emerges, in which markets the app ranks well and where keywords simply don't work because the metadata isn't adapted for local search. This is one of the most underrated areas in ASO. Everyone looks at the US and UK, but here you can see markets where there is real demand and much less competition. For a small app, this is often an easier entry point and competing with Calm in the US. What separates these apps from the other 2,500 in the category is not budget or headcount. First, none of them try to rank for everything. Each picked a semantic cluster and built the product around it, not the other way around. Second, visuals are treated as a conversion variable, not a design decision. Tested continuously, not revisited once a year. Third, they don't optimize for one market. They find where demand exists and competition doesn't. 3 things you can do today. Run spy keywords on your top competitor and filter for queries where they don't rank. Those are your gaps. Open up data timeline and check what they've been testing with their icon over the last 90 days. Pull GeoChecker and find one market where installs are growing but the top players haven't localized. That's your entry point. Link to the ASOMobile analytics and promo code for 30% off MindASO in the description. If you want to understand how to build a keyword strategy from scratch for a new app, check out our others video.